Welcome to our webinar from MRI Software, which is titled Future Ready NHS Estates, Unifying Data, AI and Cybersecurity for Operational Resilience. So I'm Matt Seeks, I'm the editor of the Health Estate Journal, and today we are hearing how a unified technology platform can help estates leaders move from reactive management to strategic control. So our speaker today is Becky Allen. She is the Healthcare Solutions Lead at MRI Software. There will be a Q&A at the end, so if you have any questions at all, do please drop those into the questions box, and we'll ask those after the presentation. So let's get started, and over to you, Becky.
Hello, and thank you for having me. I'm Becky Allen, and I'm the Healthcare Solution Lead here at MRI Software. If there's one constant I've seen over my 13 years working with NHS Estates team, it's this. The job has only got harder. I run a dedicated healthcare team that works closely with estates, capitals, finance and procurement across the NHS, and everywhere we go, the story is similar. More compliance, more reporting, more scrutiny, but rarely more resource. The people aren't the problem. The systems they're forced to work with are. Over the next 25 minutes, we'll focus on what future ready really means for NHS estates and how data, AI, and IoT can support safer, more resilient, and more compliant environments. This isn't about shiny technology. It's about addressing the day-to-day pressures estates teams are living with right now. NHS estates teams are being asked to do more than ever. More compliance, more reporting, more efficiency, but often with the same or fewer resource. Many trusts are operating across 80 to 120 disconnected systems. Data exists everywhere, but insights exist nowhere. The reality is this. We don't have a shortage of data in NHS estates. We have a shortage of joined up intelligence and secure foundations to turn pressures into progress. Looking at the stats, if only 1 in 10 asset registers is fully accurate, spreadsheets are still common, and data sits across 100 systems, it's no wonder insight is hard to find, just as estates carry a £15.9 billion maintenance risk. The NHS spends around £14 billion every year just to run its estate, yet the backlog maintenance bill now stands at £15.9 billion. We're carrying more than a full year's worth of estates cost in unresolved risk. At the same time, over 42% of NHS buildings were built before 1985. These are ageing, complex environments that demand more maintenance, more compliance, and more oversight, not less. Unprecedented compliance burdens from HTMs and HBNs to data protection, cyber standards, and sustainability reporting. Compliance is expanding in scope and complexity. Too often, teams are managing this through manual processes and disconnected data, which increases risk and audit pressures. A future-ready NHS needs integrated, trusted data and intelligent automation to move from reactive compliance to continuous assurance. NHS data is often locked in silos, separated CAFM, energy and IoT platforms, spreadsheets and legacy tools. Fragmentation limits visibility, slows decision-making and creates cyber and operational risk. Unifying data across these systems is foundational for efficiency, resilience and safer and smarter estates. Capital has constraints. Operational costs are rising and every pound must stretch further. The challenge here is not about cost reduction, it's about prioritisation. Emergency repairs routinely cost 3 to 5 times more than planned intervention. Unifying data and AI-driven insights means trusts can target investment where it delivers the greatest impact, reducing backlog maintenance, improving utilisation, and shifting from planned to predictive maintenance. Energy volatility and mandatory net zero commitments are reshaping estate strategies. 26% of trusts rely on fossil fuels for over 90% of their energy. Trusts must now understand, measure, and evidence carbon impact alongside cost. Future-ready estates use connected energy data, real-time monitoring, and AI forecasting to optimise their consumption and reduce emissions, without increasing their operational burden. MRI energy platforms have a proven track record of securing our clients with a 20 to 30% savings for energy costs and dramatically reduced time spending collecting, analysing and reporting on data, as well as validating those invoices. One of the biggest blockers to digital transformation in NHS estates has always been budget. Historically, if it wasn't bricks, plants or equipment, it was extremely difficult to fund, even when the return was long-term and strategically obvious. There's been a real constraint, particularly when national evidence has shown what's possible. The Carter Review identified over 1.2 billion in potential estate efficiency savings, largely driven by better information, utilisation and planning, not by building more or asking people to work harder. What's changed now is the recognition that software is an asset, even if you can't touch it. With new capital guidance allowing SaaS to be treated as a capital investment, estates teams can finally invest in digital platforms that unify data, support AI-driven insight, and embed cyber resilience by design. And this matters because this isn't a theoretical problem. Parliamentary evidence has shown that some NHS organisations are operating across hundreds of disconnected legacy systems, creating technical debt, operational fragility, and long-term risk. So this fundamentally changes what we can invest in, but more importantly, how we plan. We're beginning to see a shift away from short-term reactive funding cycles towards a 10-year planning horizon, where digital capability is treated as core infrastructure, every bit as essential as hospitals, energy systems, or critical medical equipment. In that context, treating digital estates platforms as capital investment isn't innovation for innovation's sake. It's a once-in-a-generation opportunity to modernise the NHS estate in a way that is sustainable, resilient, and genuinely future-ready. Right now, estates teams are surrounded by data, but starved of control. Unifying data is the step that turns complexity into clarity and pressure into progress. Most trusts don't struggle because they lack data. They struggle because it's fragmented. Estate, space, energy, and compliance teams often work in isolation, creating duplication, manual effort, and risk. Core estates data is spread across multiple systems: CAFM, energy platforms, space tools, asset registers, each offering a partial view. Because these systems aren't connected, teams can't see relationships between assets, performance, costs, and compliance. Decisions are made in isolation, and opportunities for optimization are consistently missed. When data isn't unified, national reporting becomes a manual exercise. Estates teams spend weeks and sometimes months pulling data from multiple sources, reconciling inconsistencies and fixing errors for Eric and Pam's submissions. This is high effort, low value work, and it diverts skilled teams away from strategic planning and improvement. Fragmented data leads directly to low audit confidence. When information lives in spreadsheets and disconnected systems, it's hard to prove accuracy, trace decisions, or demonstrate assurance. The result is increased audit pressure, higher perceived risk, and a reliance on individuals' knowledge rather than trusted systems. When we talk about a unified estate solution, we're not talking about ripping everything out overnight. We're talking about connecting what already exists. Unification means bringing estates, space, assets, and energy data together into a single, structured, governed backbone, where information flows between teams instead of sitting in silos. That structured data foundation is audit ready by default. Data is standardized, traceable, and consistently maintained as part of the day-to-day operations and not recreated at reporting time. The real shift is this. Compliance reporting becomes a byproduct of doing the work, not a year-end panic. Eric, Pam, audit requests. They're answered from trusted data that already exists. This is how estates teams regain control. Shared visibility, shared accountability, and the confidence to plan, optimise, and invest for the long term. One trust in the South East told us Eric took them between 3 and 6 months of the year to prepare, not because the data didn't exist, but because reconciling it did. By unifying assets, energy, and space data into a single governed backbone, Eric stops being an annual fire drill. It becomes something that can be generated repeatedly, daily, or weekly. That dramatically reduces effort, removes manual risk, and most importantly, improves confidence in the numbers. Because Eric is built from live, trusted operational data, not guesswork or spreadsheets. Unified data is the foundation. AI, IoT, and cybersecurity are how it delivers value. Together, they turn the state's data into trusted, real-time insight that teams can actually act on. There's a lot of noise about AI replacing jobs. That's not what this is about. In NHS estates, AI supports teams. It doesn't replace them. It helps people make better, earlier decisions, not automated ones. By analysing thousands of data points across assets, energy, space, and compliance, AI can spot patterns and emerging risks that humans simply don't have time or visibility to find. Industry evidence shows AI-enabled predictive maintenance can reduce unplanned downtime by up to 50% and cut maintenance costs by 10 to 20%. Not by removing people, but by giving them insight early enough to act. This shifts estates management from reactive firefighting to proactive risk management, where teams stay in control, armed with clearer signals, better foresight, and trusted recommendations. Emergency maintenance is one of the biggest silent drains on NHS estates budgets. In many healthcare environments, reactive repairs can consume up to 40 to 50% of total maintenance spend, and they're consistently 3 to 5 times more expensive than planned interventions. The cost isn't just financial. Emergency repairs drive disruption, clinical risk, cancelled procedures, and asset downtime, all while putting pressure on an already stretched teams. Predictive data-driven maintenance changes this. By using asset performance data, condition trends, and usage patterns, teams can intervene weeks or months earlier. In healthcare settings, predictive maintenance has been shown to reduce unplanned asset failures by 30 to 50% and extend asset life cycles by up to 20 to 40%. This isn't about replacing expertise. It's about giving estates teams the foresight they need to protect assets, patients, and budgets, and to move from firefighting to control. IoT isn't about cutting corners. It's about protecting patients. In the NHS, there are environments where failure simply isn't an option. Theatres and ICUs, water systems and infection control, mental health settings. These are high risk, high sensitivity areas where traditional inspection methods can be intrusive, disruptive, or too infrequent. IoT changes the model. Continuous monitoring of temperature, humidity, air quality, water safety, and critical assets gives teams early warning of risks, including Legionella and Pseudomonas, without repeating physical intervention. In mental health settings, fewer intrusive inspections support patient dignity and safety. In theatre and critical care, real-time assurance protects clinical integrity and availability. The result is safer environments, fewer emergency call-outs, stronger compliance, and confidence the estate teams are doing the right thing without disrupting care. This is IoT used responsibly, compliance without disruption, safety without compromise. So the question isn't whether we deploy IoT, it's how we do it securely, responsibly, and by design. Cyber resilience isn't optional in healthcare. It's fundamental to patient safety, operational continuity, and trust. That's why we work within government-approved procurement frameworks like G-Cloud and TPAS, and align to recognised standards such as ISO and Cyber Essentials. These frameworks exist to do the hard work up front, ensuring platforms meet rigorous requirements for security, resilience, and data protection before procurement even begins. For the NHS, this reduces risk and friction. Trusts don't need to create bespoke assurance processes, take unnecessary supplier risk, or slow down transformation. They know the platform has already been independently assessed against public sector expectations. And what that says about working with us is simple. We understand NHS risk. We design security in from the start, and we make it easier for trusts to move forward with confidence, enabling data, AI, and IoT safely, responsibly, and at scale. When data is fragmented, compliance is a burden. When data is unified and secure, compliance becomes the foundation for strategic resilience. When compliance is embedded into how estates operate every day, reporting stops being a burden. With continuous data capture and governed processes, estates teams are always audit ready by default, not scrambling at year end. In this model, compliance data isn't created for reporting, it's generated through normal operations. ERIC and PLAN become outcomes of good management, not distractions from it. And the real shift is that compliance starts with insight, highlighting risk, performance gaps, and investment priorities, instead of simply proving something happened after the fact. This is how estates move from chasing assurance to using it strategically. Technology alone doesn't deliver resilience. What really matters is long-term partnership, working with people who understand the NHS, speak its language, and grow with trust as requirements evolve. Over the years, some trusts have moved away from us through procurement processes driven by most economically advantageous tenders or meet criteria, often with the genuine intention of finding better value or a faster route forward. That's part of the NHS landscape, and we fully respect it. What's been telling, though, is seeing trust return, not because technology failed elsewhere, but because delivery in the NHS is about far more than software features. It's about understanding compliance nuances, navigating real-world estates complexities, and standing shoulder to shoulder with teams when priorities shift and pressure increases. At MRI Software, we don't see this as a one-off implementation. We support trust over the long term through changing compliance requirements, new digital strategies, and growing expectations on estates teams, year after year. That's why our dedicated healthcare team matters. People who work daily with estates, capital, finance, and procurement, who know the NHS context, not just the contract. Because future-ready estates aren't built through technology alone. They're built through trusted partnerships that stand the test of time. The future of NHS estates isn't about more technology. It's about better foundations. Unified data enables confidence, giving estates teams a single trusted view to plan, invest, and ensure with clarity. AI drives proactive control, shifting the NHS from reactive response to early insight, foresight, and prevention. Cybersecurity underpins trust, protecting not just data, but patient safety, operational resilience, and public confidence. And ultimately, digital estates protect patient care. They reduce disruption, manage risk earlier, support safer environments, and free teams to focus on what really matters. This is how estates move from pressure to performance, from compliance burden to strategic resilience, and from just keeping the lights on to actively enabling the NHS of the future. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Becky. And we will do some questions, I think. Hi, Becky.
Hiya.
So our first question then, what would you say is the single biggest barrier preventing NHS estates teams from modernising today?
So honestly, if it isn't a lack of effort, ambition, or even understanding of the problem, the biggest barrier is fragmentation. It's fragmented systems, fragmented data, and fragmented ownership. For estates teams are often surrounded by data, but they don't have a single trusted view that they can rely on. That makes it incredibly hard to make confident decisions, build a strong business case, or move from reactive work to proactive planning. The one and only solution to digital transformation is to have all of your estate data in one place on an open, connected, single source of truth platform.
And why do you think asset registers remain such a challenge for trusts, despite years of digital investment?
Mm. I think because asset registers don't live in isolation, they're affected by how work orders are raised, how inspections are recorded, how projects are delivered, and how data is updated day to day. In many trusts, asset data exists, but it spreads across CAFM systems, spreadsheets, contractor reports, legacy tools. Without those connected workflows and ownership, accuracy naturally degrades over time. And the challenge isn't collecting assets once, it's actually keeping them accurate continuously.
Absolutely. And what specific problems do you see most frequently caused by disconnected systems in NHS estates?
Sure. I think the biggest issues are the poor visibility, which then leads to those delayed decisions. Teams can't easily see the relationship between assets, costs, performance, and compliance. Reporting becomes manual and time consuming, and then audits feel really stressful rather than actually just routine. Opportunities towards improving operational efficiencies or cost reduction are then often most missed. Um,
Hmm.
Fragmentation also increases cyber operational risk because that data is duplicated, it's unmanaged, and reliant on individuals rather than the systems at hand.
Hmm. Thank you. So, where should trusts start if they have, say, 100 systems and
Yeah.
no clear data ownership? Where should they start?
So the first step isn't about replacing everything. It's about connecting what already exists. Trust should start by identifying their core asset data. So
Hmm.
that's assets, maintenance, space, energy, compliance, and establishing a single governed backbone where that data can be brought together. This is where open connected technology solutions like MRI's software's healthcare platform, they
Hmm.
come to play with the ability to connect other technologies. So trusts don't have to abandon their existing technology and then that investment completely or reinvent the wheel there.
Hmm. Excellent. And how important would you say is data standardization, before introducing automation or AI?
Mm. It's absolutely fundamental. I mean, automation and AI are only as good as the data that's feeding them.
Hmm.
If data is inconsistent or untrusted, you simply automate problems instead of solving them. That's why standardization, consistent structures, definitions, and governance needs to come first. Once that foundation is in place, automation and AI become the enabler, not the risk.
Right. Okay. Excellent. And how quickly can trusts expect to see a return on investment from a connected
Mm.
AI-enabled approach?
This varies, but some benefits are visible surprisingly quickly, especially time saving. We often see trusts reduce manual reporting effort, compliance preparation, and reconciliation work within months. Financial returns like reduced reactive maintenance or avoided overpayments, they follow as better insight informs those better prioritizations.
Mm.
It's not about that single big AI moment. ROI builds steadily as data quality improves and teams move from firefighting to foresight.
Mm. Excellent. And how would you say, how can AI realistically be applied in NHS estates today? You know, as opposed to sort of in theory, how can they realistically be applied?
The most kind of realistic applications are decision support, not decision making.
Mm.
AI is already being used to analyze patterns across asset performance, energy use, maintenance history, compliance data, all those types of things, but highlighting emerging risks earlier than humans could alone, really. It doesn't replace expertise. It it supports those. It's helping the states teams focus the attention where it matters most.
Mm. Excellent. What are the most valuable AI use cases for reducing maintenance backlog and reactive work?
So predictive maintenance is the biggest one. By identifying those early warning signs that asset deteriorating faster than expected, that abnormal performance, those repeated failures, teams can intervene before those issues become emergencies. That reduces disruption, that lowers the cost, that extends asset life cycles, and it takes the pressure off of already stretched teams.
Mm.
With the £15.9 million in backlog of maintenance, utilising AI for that predictive maintenance is the only way NHS England can tackle that challenge.
Excellent. What do you think estates teams should look for when it comes to a secure and also future-ready platform?
So, three main things, in my opinion. So, security by design, the governance, and then assurance. So, the platform should meet recognised standards. It should then align to the NHS approved frameworks and embed that security into everyday operations. It shouldn't be treated as a bolt on for later.
Mm.
Equally important is governance. So clear audit trails, traceable data changes, and confidence that information is accurate, it's current, and it is defensible.
Sure. Thank you. We have one more question, I think, and that is, what does a future-ready NHS estate function look like, I think 5 years from now? And what advice would you give estates leaders starting their digital transformation journey?
Okay, so in 5 years, I'd say a future ready estates function should be proactive, not reactive.
Mm.
Data should be unified and trusted, with decisions being informed by real time insight rather than hindsight. So, my advice to estates leaders starting now would be quite simple, really. So, focus on foundations first, invest in that connected data, that clear ownership, that strong governance, and then choose an open, connected technology that grows with you so you're never left behind.
Mm. Perfect. That's great. Thank you, Becky. We appreciate that. And thank you, of course, to everyone who's joined us today. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you and
Thank you,
goodbye.
Matt.
Thank you.